Mic check, 1, 2. Welcome back to another episode of Token Narratives. I'm Graham Stone, joined again by Alex Richardson and David Sensel of the Bitcoin.com news and research team.
Hello.
We got another
Shalom.
great episode of Token Narratives. We're going to get deep into the shambles, the burning, smoldering dumpster fire that is the Ethereum community and network, and most importantly, the ETH token itself. We got all the gossip, all the details, and David, I'm told, is going to be defending ETH like a.
Don't salivate too much, Graham. It's unbecoming.
All right. Starting off with a quick markets recap. The stock market hit new all-time highs this week. Precious metals are down. Oil's down. Bitcoin also down. Currently trading around 73K. We rejected the 200-day moving average, same as in previous cycles. And I'm going to bring up some charts here while, Alex, you elaborate on that.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty good win for the astrologers. We simply rejected from the 200-day moving average. Sometimes the squigglies work. Benjamin Cowan has been harping about that resistance level for a long time, and now we're done, and we're heading down just like in previous cycles. Kind of a lining up with what a lot of people are saying about a late 2026 bottom. However, if you would prefer to take the more bullish perspective with astrology, Graham, if you want to open up the next chart, this guy, Super Bro, he's using a confluence of a few indicators. First off, there's a bullish crossover of the 10 and 20 week moving averages. The stochastic RSI, which basically measures the momentum of the RSI, has gone above 99. The RSI itself has gone from 30 to 45, and we've also had 6 consecutive weekly lows. I believe that was between March and earlier this month. And all of those things have historically marked bottoms, if you want to take the more constructive astrologist point of view. And also, Bitfinex has pointed out that the previous ETF outflows, the amount of ETF outflows that we've seen in the past have historically triggered corrections, and right now it's not really triggering the same amount of downward price action. And so they're speculating that there is an, quote, unidentified bid sort of cushioning the losses on BTC right now, cushioning the net outflows of ETFs. I think people in the comment section have speculated that it's Saylor or someone else. We don't know. But that would be sort of the constructive point of view. I don't know what you guys think. I'm still sticking to my October, November, December time frame for scooping up some cheap BTC.
Yeah, David, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Last week, you sounded quite bullish.
Yeah, I mean, I
said
said
does
no,
Alex's intro there change anything for you?
no. And I said last week, could it go down more? Like, yeah, sure, because but I think it's more related to macro things, right? Like, I think it's related to the continuing of this conflict in the Middle East and the fact that oil is still the worries about oil have not been solved in any way whatsoever. So I find this to be unremarkable. If this continues on for a week or two and we see it materially break through like levels that matter, like the what, 66, 65? Nah. If we see a breakthrough with conviction through that, yeah, sure. I mean, then obviously we're going to probably see a further leg down. But right now, just seems like kind of nothing, at least as of right now. So
So you're saying if we hit 60, mid 60s, you should sell because it's going deeper.
No, no, no. I wouldn't sell anything that you have now. Um, if you bought in the past, since April 20, was it April 18th when it started to break above 75? And now it's sitting there again. If you've bought in the past month and a half, just sit on what you have. Hopefully you didn't full port. You just nibbled. But to me, this is like to be expected when you're trying to form a bottom, which is also what I said last week. Which is I think Bitcoin is trying to form a bottom somewhere in this area, and I personally think that the worst of this bear market is over. Again, macro being the one thing that could really send this spiking downwards, right? Like, let's say oil, for whatever reason, starts to spike. Like I think, Alex, yesterday we talked about China hasn't been buying oil. If they start to wade into the oil markets again and you see oil, I don't know, 120, 140, that'll probably have like pretty outsized effects on everything else, and that might cause things to sell off. But like again, AI seems to be doing well. Revenue's good. CapEx is great. Things I'm going to be covering in the newsletter, like again that we talked about last week. Like, yeah, the hyperscalers probably are going to slow down in terms of their market cap of price appreciation, but you're seeing everything else along that kind of chain send. What was the big news? The big news out of Korea this week, right? Like Samsung and another memory maker, they're giving out like $200,000, $500,000, $500,000 bonuses this year, right? This is, I mean, come on. Oh, that's so bearish. No, that's their bonuses for like everybody. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, so there's a lot of money, and it's not like, it doesn't seem to me like bubble money, right? So, I would expect these things to be shorter term.
Yeah,
I mostly just think
I think that yeah,
the
go ahead,
stock
Alex.
market is just so overextended. Like I don't have an S&P 500 chart in front of me, but I think it's like way above its 200-day moving average, and I think I read that once you get between 11% and 15% above that moving average, like since the beginning of time, we always revisit it eventually. And what do you think is going to happen when these things correct? You could be optimistic and say there's going to be like a rotation out the risk curve, but I don't know. I think the more conservative and logical perspective is just to wait for that to correct and wait for TradFi markets to correct before you go long BTC.
Yeah, I think that when TradFi markets do correct, and let's call it the AI bubble bursts, that will be good for Bitcoin, because currently a lot of the speculative money that would otherwise be speculating on Bitcoin is speculating on other things, all these AI plays. That's one thing. And then secondly, once the AI bubble stock market valuations, once that does correct and possibly go into a multi-year bear market, which wouldn't be unheard of, the result of that is going to have to be more stimulus to prop things up. And that will flow into Bitcoin.
I mean, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I think what'll probably happen is I don't think the AI bubble will burst. At least, certainly not in the way like the internet bubble burst in 2000. But I do think eventually, I saw this. Hopefully I wrote it down. I saw many posts on this week, Graham, actually, like basically saying that, right? Like, eventually, some of these crazy gains are gonna kind of level out. People will take profits. For example, from there's this large tech Japanese stock that is up 250% this year, and I think it's up like 20% this week. Of course, they provide some little doohickey that's used in some board for compute and AI. That's not a bubble, though, right? Like, that's just re-rating. That's re-rating how much demand there is. But people will take profits on that, right? There's huge profits. They're going to take profit on that. That profit will eventually rotate somewhere else, don't you think? Right? And so
That's what I'm saying.
yeah, but I don't necessarily think that's a bubble bursting per se, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that company that's making this stuff, its demand apparently is out like everything is paid for like till 2029. So anyway, the crazy gains will slow down, and so the people will take profit, and then that speculative money will probably land in crypto at some point. And think about this, Graham. I saw all those comments about Korea this week, and boy, I think KBW this year is going to be wild. all these Koreans are like, they've just got tons of cash now, and somebody's like, isn't it like 40% of Koreans under 40, something like that, participate in the crypto markets? So like they're going to be, I feel like it's going to be a wild next couple months in Korea.
Yeah. All right. That wraps up our markets gut check. Let's move on to Ethereum dunking. So there's been a bit of a vibe shift to let's call it what it is. It's a dumpster fire. All right. In recent months, 8 senior members of the Ethereum Foundation have left, including 5 in the month of May alone. Last week, of course, David Hoffman, the co-host of Bankless, which is one of the original ETH evangelist podcasts. I would call Bankless the PR wing of the Ethereum network, perhaps. This guy announced that he sold all his ETH, saying that while he believes in the network, ETH as an asset is increasingly questionable. I think that actually summarizes my feelings on Ethereum, although we can get into some more nuance. All of this has happened. Yeah.
Did you read his statement? I think that came out yesterday. The Hoffman statement, like why he sold ETH.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Forgets that. Jog my memory. What are some of the points?
Well, okay. So for me, this is just kind of tongue in cheek. The TLDR is basically, I thought ETH was like hard money, and that played out a little bit, but not as much as maybe I wanted. But I was kind of right, even though I was wrong. I was kind of right, and then now that narrative is done, and so then I sold all my ETH because it played out as money, and that's it.
Yeah,
anyway,
I think that's a good summary of what he wrote. I feel like, it was pretty, it didn't really hit hard, whatever it was.
It was like
a lot of words.
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
It seemed like a long-winded way of saying he was wrong without actually saying he was wrong.
I think it was a long-winded way of saying he was right for a little while, but now it's different.
Yeah. All right. So this meltdown in the Ethereum community is all happening as the ETH, the asset, is trading nearly 60% down from where it was over 5 years ago. Underperforming Bitcoin, obviously the stock market, and raising questions that we have long asked on Token Narratives as to the actual value proposition of the ETH token.
Graham, do you recall when you sold your ETH? How many was it? It was more than a year ago, right?
Seems
Was it
about
2 years
that,
ago?
about that time.
Must have been. You sold it before me, and then I think I sold it like 6 months after you. But you know what's crazy is when we started Token Narratives, we were like, we kept joking every week, like, is this the bottom for ETH? I mean, we weren't the only ones. Steady Lads did too. It was every week. It's like, can it get worse for ETH? You remember that?
Yeah.
I feel like we're there again. It's like deja vu.
So, let's talk about the Ethereum Foundation for a moment. Seems to be losing influence over the Ethereum ecosystem. Vitalik Buterin put out a post earlier this week on X. Did you guys read this one?
I did.
Yeah.
I liked it.
So let's talk about the post. So some of the things that Vitalik seemed to be saying in this, the Ethereum Foundation is intentionally becoming smaller, more focused, less central to Ethereum. He argues the Ethereum Foundation should be one node in the ecosystem, not its permanent steward. That remaining resources should prioritize Ethereum's long-term resilience, censorship resistance, privacy, openness, security, and resistance to capture the so-called crops playbook.
Did you hear the alternative? Sorry to keep interrupting, Graham, but did you hear the alternative way of saying this? Corpse.
Corpse. Okay. Rather than chasing things like maximum TPS through transaction per second or competing on speed, he wants Ethereum to be deeply impressive in those crops aligned metrics. The way I read his post was, here's another philosophical post from Vitalik. It's laudable, makes sense, and it's also why ETH, the token, continues to be down. There's no focus on ETH, the token. It's about this long-term vision of the network, and that value just doesn't accrue to the token. There's two separate things.
So I found it a bit rude that they would do this after dumping 99% of their ETH. Like maybe this would have been a little bit more valuable a few years ago.
Well, I mean, I think that's part of the whole thing is that they want to. I mean, I used to think it was bad, but it makes sense now, right? All the ETH selling makes sense, and it was something that Vitalik was boasting about. It's like, look, we don't even hold Ethereum anymore. It's almost like what's his face with Litecoin, except that was obviously
Charlie.
BS. Yeah, Charlie was like, oh, I can't be an impartial dev of Litecoin if I own it, so I'm gonna sell it all. Anyway. Here's kind of how I thought of Vitalik's thing. I think the Ethereum Foundation fundamentally, and the people who are in the Ethereum Foundation, they are really bad at business development and caring about like token price, right? It's like I think it's kind of in a way admirable for them to realize, like, you know what, we just can't do this. It's just not in what we do. It's not who we are. And so we're not going to do it. And we're going to hope someone else does it because we're so bad at it. And so rather than kind of like do it half-assed and kick and scream, be dragged into it, they're kind of giving up part of this thing that that other foundations do, and they're like basically saying we can't do it, right? So I actually think that's kind of important, and And I think it paves the way for another group or foundation to credibly step in and do this, because the EF is basically torching their ability to kind of be a kind of business development and steward of token price and this kind of thing. And so in that respect, I think it's good, really good.
Yeah, well, either way, whoever takes up the mantle is not going to be able to fix the broken tokenomics of the Ethereum network. The fact will, unless I don't know how you could change it, but just the way it's structured, you can't, no matter how much the network gets used, you're still not going to accrue value to the ETH token, because you just fundamentally don't need the ETH token to use the network.
Yeah. So this is one of the biggest weaknesses that people say, and I agree, Graham. This is something that they ought to address. The counter to this is what I was going to get into later, but I really saw Vitalik's post is, again, two parts. Number one, giving up on pretending to do this business thing, and number two, kind of throwing down the gauntlet of being like, we are going to be, again, this is me interpreting it, we're going to be basically like Bitcoin, basically, or even maybe a better version of Bitcoin. We're going to be truly censorship resistant, open source. We're going to have privacy, and we're going to be secure. And this is fundamentally different than any other blockchain other than Bitcoin, right? And you have like all the other would-be L1s. They're all competing at the same game, which is, I think, a game that you're just kind of referring to, Graham. It's like a race to the bottom. It's like commoditized compute. How fast can you be? All this kind of stuff. And in those cases, do you need a native token? Not really. Doesn't matter at all. But if you're gonna, like, it almost seems to me like they're kind of challenging Bitcoin on that, almost on that moneyness thing. It's just like, no. This is the real, credibly decentralized thing.
Well,
and
that's
no one
the
else
only
can
way
do it.
you could yeah, that's the only way under the current tokenomics that you could actually make ETH pump, is if ETH became money somehow, because it's a better version of Bitcoin.
And I think, doesn't he kind of, he makes allusions, or he makes direct comparisons to Bitcoin, I think, if I recall correctly, or maybe other commentators have. And it really is very different. It's a very different game than pretty much any other network is doing right
another
now.
thing that struck me about Vitalik's post on X is he talks about Google, and the implication is that Google sold out and became like the best business ever.
They also became evil, right? Like, I mean, Google is, I use Google every day, but
exactly.
Like that don't be evil thing, they did a 180 about face, and the motto became, be as evil as possible.
Yes. Well, okay, you could debate that, but the fact is, Google has made a lot of people extremely wealthy. All of the Google token holders, whatever the stock is, they've done well, and that's because the business makes a ton of money, and that the money that the business makes is reflected in the value of the stock. So Vitalik is saying, don't do that. He's telling you, don't do that. And it's laudable.
I think
it's like, yeah, great. I'm like, thank you.
Well, I think he's saying that
I'm not holding ETH.
I think he's saying that
reason.
the Ethereum Foundation is not going to do that. I think he's saying he does not want the EF, which he controls. He doesn't want the EF to do that, and he doesn't want to be any part of that, which is fine.
Okay.
And honestly, I don't think that's bad at all. I think,
Yeah.
and they're
no,
just
that's
not
fine.
good at this. They're just not good at this. Like, it's like, I don't know, man. It's like somebody who struggles with weight, right? Just whatever, their whole life they struggle with weight,
Right.
and then their job is to be like a life coach or something. It's just like maybe you shouldn't be giving advice on weight issues.
Yeah.
You're
so
probably good. You're probably good at a lot of other things, but the weight thing, leave that
They-
to the anorexic lady.
the EF goes down in influence. In theory, somebody comes up and has more influence, and that somehow gets leads to change in the Ethereum network that can ultimately pump the token.
I guess, yeah. I mean, there's so many aspects to this that are fascinating. I don't know what order you want to deal with this. One thing that I don't see in this doc, but I found really, really fascinating. Oh, you did. Austin Campbell's had these like long back and forths with several people about this new direction. It's quite because Campbell also says things like, "Yeah, this is great. It's laudable what the EF and Vitalik's vision is for Ethereum," but he's basically saying like that vision, that kind of like really hardcore censorship resistant open source privacy security, that is not compatible with the home of finance, right? Like finance
Yeah.
on chain cannot be that. It just can't. And so if
Not
that's
in
what your
the
vision is,
current
then
world
it
we
can't.
live in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and so
It's all,
Alex Campbell points to Stellar, which as something that does play nice with TradFi because of the way that network is structured. You can basically choose your partners, kind of choose the people who are allowed into your network, kind of like it's a consortium or a federation. And you have trusted partners. That's kind of how TradFi works, right?
yeah. And one thing that I think is quite funny, just like a little segue, is I was listening to a podcast about this this whole thing, and this guy Zach Cole, president of Ethereum Community Foundation, he was on another podcast, and he was talking about the Ethereum Foundation and kind of some of the quirks of the Ethereum Foundation. And I didn't know about this, but here's the mandate that Ethereum released. Presumably this was in March. Let me share my screen. I didn't even know about this. It's so funny though. Look at this. Okay. All right, this is the Ethereum Foundation mandate, right? So you see this PDF. You see what it looks like, guys?
Looks like a bad dream.
Yeah. So this is the quote that he said. Now they're releasing a bunch of crazy, deviant art looking shit that looks like they just walked out of a ketamine orgy. They don't need to put some stuff out that looks like they paid some furry on Instagram to come on with some sort of manga-based manifesto that doesn't make any sense. I think that's awesome. That's a great quote. So
Yeah.
you can tell like David Hoffman and the Bankless people, they're not alone from like a lot of people in the Ethereum community with what the EF have been doing, right? And they're just this David Cole, he's like, you know, how do I take this to TradFi institutions? How do I give them this this PDF about the future of Ethereum and not be like laughed at and look like a crazy person? I mean, look at the fonts. Do you see this?
Yeah.
What is this? It's ridiculous. Anyway, it's kind of funny and it makes me. I mean, look at this stuff, dude. What is this? bro.
Love buffering.
Ketamine orgy loading.
Unlimited prosperity. We are all one in love. This is issued by the Ethereum Foundation. This
Yes.
mandate.
Yes. With this art.
Love quotient immeasurable. User affection. Activate sovereign. Okay. Heartbeat detected. User read. I love you.
Forever.
All right. Yeah. So.
No, but again, so from this perspective, it's like, do you really want the Ethereum Foundation doing this? Isn't it good that they're no longer doing this and they've kind of burned that bridge?
Yeah, well, the other thing is that they can't really do anything anymore anyway because they only have 0.01% of the remaining ETH. They've spent it all on this on these mandates and other things over the last
deviant
decade.
what is it? Deviant art imagery. I don't know. It's it's an interesting thing. You also have a couple other aspects of this that I find interesting, which is like so talking about the people who left. I thought some of the commentary online was good, which is like this is being overhyped or overblown. It's normal for there to be churn in larger organizations like this, and it's not necessarily bearish for Ethereum and the Ethereum community. The quote I heard was like Max Resnick. His leaving Ethereum was a lot worse because he like was very vocal against Ethereum, and he was like, "F you guys." And then he started working for Solana, and he was like, "Yes, Solana's awesome. Ethereum sucks." So the people that left Ethereum, and like 5 people in May, it seems like they're staying within the ecosystem. So this is not. This seems to be one aspect that's probably not straight up bearish.
I don't know, like whatever happens with the EF, I still think that the left curve take on Ethereum is undefeated, which is that it sucks to use, it's expensive, there's no value accrual thesis for ETH, and institutions don't really care about decentralization and immutability and ultrasound money, and also block space is infinite. This is, I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but honestly, Ethereum has always been like one of those things in life where I feel this pressure to pretend to enjoy it so I don't get into any arguments with people. Kind of like women's basketball or jazz music or something. It's like, and I gave it a chance. It's not like
jazz music is awesome. Don't even play with that.
no, I like the old like Benny
far.
Goodman classic swing and stuff, but the modern like odd time signatures and soloing out of key, I hate that stuff. But I mean, like when DeFi first became a thing, I was like so excited to get on chain and become bankless and fight the power. But then it's like, okay, $30 for a swap, $50 to unstake my 1-inch tokens. Why'd I even stake my 1-inch tokens in the first place? There was no reason other than to trick me into reducing sell pressure. Oh, don't worry, you can save on fees by going to Polygon. So now you're on Polygon. But then it turns out that the DApp that you want to use doesn't support Polygon, so you got to go to synapse.io and pay $30 to bridge to Optimism. Now you're on Optimism, which for some reason has a token. And now I'm on Optimism, but I forgot what I was even doing in the first place, so I was just going to cut my losses, send my tokens back to Kraken. But Kraken doesn't receive deposits. They don't support deposits from Optimism, so I got to go back to the bridge, pay another $30 to go back to mainnet. And it's like, I'm just losing hundreds of dollars in mere minutes simply by clicking on things. So like, it's like not only is it expensive and it's the worst technological experience imaginable, I just like, I have this very left curve take that I don't see how it's wrong. Like why does anyone put up with this? Why would you not believe someone's going to create something better? Why would you think institutions care about decentralization and all the rest rather than just using more controlled permission chains? And what is the value capture thesis for ETH? Instead of answering those questions, the EF just dumps their ETH, and spends it on this weird philanthropy stuff like endangered hippos and vaccine development and longevity stuff. These questions are not being answered. So regardless of what happens with the EF, to me the investment thesis is still being unanswered.
So again, I don't disagree with any of that right now. I think though some of the points that you said would make me bearish on everything else over ETH, right? Because block space is infinite. Block space has been commoditized. That whole thing is a race to zero. So there is really no differentiation between kind of the infinite tail of new L1s that are 10 billion TPS fast, right? Because it doesn't matter. What would matter is something that has almost like this kind of like Bitcoin-esque immaculate conception kind of thing where it is decentralized, right? And to me, that's more interesting in the long term for Ethereum. Now, would I hold Ethereum now? No. Do I own any? No. If Ethereum's still around in like 5 to 6 years, and it's still like it is now, and it has enshrined privacy, which would be huge, which would be really, really big. I'm watching this very closely actually with Ethereum, and they are, unlike a lot of chains, they are making like pretty interesting choices that I agree with. Then that becomes really, really interesting to me. Because it's less chasing the same thing that everyone else is, which is this TPS low fee, whatever. So yeah, that's I think the differentiator for Ethereum, and that would be the long term value proposition, I guess. But I could see it going to like $400 before it builds up any value in the long term.
Yeah, I do think that's a very highly likely path, is that it becomes, the chart starts to look like the old, like EOS and the Dino coins, where it just does nothing for like 5-6 years, and then maybe you get these like big speculative spikes. I heard Haseeb Qureshi of Dragonfly, he made the comparison of Ethereum to Microsoft, that Ethereum is the Microsoft of crypto. Because much like Microsoft, Ethereum is very big, it's very slow, it's enterprise friendly, terrible UX, but you know it's big and valuable and expensive. I don't know. Do you guys agree with that? Because I don't really understand it.
Yeah,
Ethereum is safe, right? Ethereum is still probably because it's just battle tested, right? Like it's had uptime for 10 years. Solana is like what? How many years now has it been up? For 2 years? 3? Sui is like what? 50 seconds? A couple days of uptime? I mean, you know, does anyone use Cardano or Stellar? So I don't know.
I mean, yeah, Haseeb is a friend of the pod, much richer and smarter than I am, so I feel bad. I feel a little embarrassed to publicly disagree with him, but I just don't get the battle-tested Microsoft comparison. Like, he's totally correct that big companies can produce things that everyone hates and still dominate the entire market. Cases in point, Microsoft, as he mentioned, I don't know, like Netflix, PayPal, no one likes using those companies. But sometimes you just have to. The difference between Ethereum and those big established companies is that with those companies, it's hard for the users to pick an alternative. Like, Microsoft is just on every computer, and it's been like that since the 90s. It was like all the computers. I think it's still like 70%. Like, you literally don't have a choice. No one wants to go to Starbucks, but it's everywhere. Sometimes you're traveling, you just want to like have a predictable experience. Netflix is already built into all the TVs. You have to use PayPal if you're doing like gig work. People just prefer using it. With Ethereum, there's infinite alternatives, infinite chains that are just a click away. Like, you literally just move your cursor to the top of the screen and you change networks on MetaMask, or you open up your backpack or a different wallet on Solana or Sui. So I just don't understand how does Ethereum compete with infinite block space that's just a click away.
Well, so I mean, there's the biggest thing is liquidity, right? And for your size is not size, Mr. Richardson. And you know, if you want to,
Yes.
if, but if you've got money like Qureshi or some of these others, you want to move like a, I don't know, $200 million worth of USDC. Are you really going to want to move that onto Stellar or whatever? I mean, I would be very worried about doing that. Just in terms of trusting that the chain works. Now, if you want to like exchange 200 mil or a billion of USDC for USDT or whatever, this kind of thing, then the liquidity really matters, and that becomes the most important thing. So, yeah, it doesn't concern me at all. But I don't have any money. I like my $50 is every chain will take that. Could take that. Maybe not Cardano, but you know, pretty much every chain. Just joking, Cardano.
No, you're not.
Yeah, so ETH is just kind of the place where whales farm protocols like.
But also, they feel safe to have that kind of money sitting on the chain, right? Like you got to be a little. Think about it like this, Graham. So like, so I was on Sonic for a while, okay, and I had for a time I was farming something on Sonic, and I think I had like 5% of all of my crypto on Sonic, and it made me antsy. I was like, I don't know if I should be doing this. It's like, you know what I'm talking about? Just like this chain could go down. Am I going to be able to get this off? You know, like
No, I even feel that at my size as well. Like I definitely feel safer holding USDC on Ethereum than I do holding it on yeah, even Solana.
yeah. So I this is not to say that this doesn't and won't change, but the amount of liquidity and money that just sit on Ethereum, I do think has a reassuring effect for sure. And yeah, I mean, it can change over time, and it definitely will. But so what is it? The other thing is, like, I've heard with all this AI stuff and all this other thing is like one of the things that will be very, very valuable in the future. It's already valuable now, right, in TradFi and in crypto, but even more so in the future because the costs of spinning up a new chain, the cost of whatever, making a new protocol or project are going to go to zero, trend to zero with AI and all this kind of stuff, is liquidity. It'll actually become even more important in the future. And so you could have, I wonder if it almost could have like a gravitational effect moving like in the future where you just don't want to move away from that liquidity, even if it is marginally better or whatever, you know, just like who cares?
Yeah. So no, I agree. Ethereum is useful, and I'm happy it exists, but the ETH token is not a good investment.
I think that
I agree.
I think like this conversation about Ethereum kind of sucking from a lot of people is going to lead to a bigger conversation about how infrastructure in general kind of sucks from an investment point of view. And I wouldn't be surprised if we just all stopped talking about Ethereum and all the L1s for a long time, just because it's well known throughout history that infrastructure is usually a bad investment. Infrastructure can be commoditized. Like it's easy to create infrastructure compared to creating actual businesses that interact with the end user. So for example, in the early 2000s, you could have been correct that the internet was going to be this massive thing, but you could have said, I don't know which businesses are going to succeed, so I'm just going to buy shares in AT&T and Verizon because everyone's going to need internet connections and maybe copper and fiber cables because everyone's going to need wiring in their houses. And those would have been terrible investments compared to Google, Amazon, Apple, whatever. And the same thing happened roughly with like railroads versus businesses that use the railroads. Before railroads, like hundreds of years ago in Europe, it was canals versus like the canal logistic companies. oil infrastructure compared to Standard Oil and the big oil companies. I don't see how it's going to be different with digital finance and crypto. The infrastructure can enable the fortunes, but it's the applications that actually capture the fortunes. And right now, I don't see how ETH and Sol and the rest of them, like as tokens, are in a position to capture those fortunes, especially ETH, just because the others, at least the others, are cheap and fast. Ethereum is less so. So I just think, like, from an investment perspective, if you care about making money, then I don't really see how ETH is going to be that interesting in the years ahead. I think it's going to be the businesses like Hype and the stuff that actually makes money, which we don't have a lot of yet.
Yeah,
Hype
totally
is an
agree.
interesting case. Hype is an interesting case because Hype is angling to be kind of the substrate. It's trying to be that infrastructure layer for everything that's growing on top of it. The big difference, though, is the tokenomics. That's the big difference with Hype, which is it's built into the protocol that all the fees that generate from things that live on top of Hype, right? Like all the different front ends, Trade XYZ, Orange Rock, the Hyperliquid exchange itself. That all gets that all goes towards buying back Hype itself. So it is in some ways Hype is like it's almost like delivering on the vision of these early, not even early, I should say, all of these L1s, where you have a direct mechanism for like a way to own to get stock in the network itself, right? And that's exactly through the Hype token, which
exactly. And if you compare it like Hype to, for example, Uniswap on Ethereum, yeah, Uniswap did contribute some like fee usage, and therefore like had some impact, I guess, on the ETH token price. But the vast majority of it did not accrue to the Ethereum token. And what did Uniswap do? They went and made their own chain.
exactly. And like again, the another big difference with Hype is that the order book, the liquidity, is built into the network itself. So like HIP3, for example, allows you to tap into that, right? And so you don't want to build your own chain because then you're losing out on that liquidity, right? That you're easily able to access. And anything that's built on top of Hype contributes to that liquidity, which pretty much helps every other user-facing application get access to more liquidity. So that's a major difference. But it has those kind of similar. It has some of the same kinds of things that you would worry about, which is like, trade XYZ might have a lot more volume and become the thing that everyone uses, other than like the Hype. What's it called? The Hyperliquid exchange itself. But that doesn't really, or it doesn't mean that Hype doesn't accrue value, because the transactions should, a significant amount of those will be go to buy Hype. So anyway, interesting stuff. I do hope, but I actually have very little hope that the Ethereum Foundation will take steps to make value accrue to the token. Right? Like, was it a month ago or something that did they increase the blob size and all that kind of stuff? So then like fees from L2s dropped even more. So
Yeah.
again, that's I feel like that it would be like a reasonably easy fix to help fix the tokenomics of ETH, so that you start.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it was
you
on
know?
the right track with
Right.
the ultrasound money, right? There for a time, they were burning because of the network was being used and the tokenomics were functioning correctly. They were burning more ETH than was being issued. And for a brief time, it was becoming deflationary or less inflationary than Bitcoin. And so that started to make sense. But then they're like, I mean, they had problems. They couldn't scale on chain. So they like set up these incentives for the L1s to basically cannibalize all their volume and take all their profits. And that died. So huge mistake there. Things could have been quite different, I think, if that hadn't if they had like scaled at the network at the base layer, perhaps found a balance between speed and like cost and like I mean they couldn't scale fast enough, and so the method that they took was the proliferation of L2s, and it turned out to be cannibalistic, which I think a lot of people pointed out at the time that was going to happen.
Yeah. And I mean, there's proposals that could help, but it's almost like it's probably too late, right? Like you can have like native rollups and things of that nature, which are almost like protocol level enshrined L2s. So then there can't be another token basically as far as part of it. But again, that's all probably done with. So
all right, I think we've danced on Ethereum's grave enough for today. This is getting depressing. It'll be just fine. Ethereum will be just fine, but the ETH token, not investment advice, but don't buy that. All right, let's wrap it up for today, gentlemen. This has been another episode of Token Narratives. Thanks to everyone for joining. David and Alex, thanks again for your insights. As always, have a great week, everyone. We're done.